What up, what up, what up, everybody? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day this Friday Eve. Whoops, wrong one. Because obviously, we have a lot going on today, and it's a lot happening in this world. And as you know, we all about that money because we got to figure out what the heck is going on when it comes to our finances. And this is a lifestyle change, everybody, because we have a lot to talk about. What are those 8 different things that the sandwich generation are going through? Because as we get older, we got to take care of our parents, we got to take care of our finances, also got to take care of the kids. Now, if you're new to the show, my name is Anthony Weaver, host of the About That Wallet podcast show, where we help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits so that you can spend your money, talk about money, and save that money with confidence as you go about your life and actually do all the fun things that you want to do. So if you are new right now, go ahead on and drop in the chat where you're from, how you doing. Let me know what's going on because I just want to make sure we hit all your questions today. If you have any questions about your finances as you getting ready for 2025, how you're gearing up for it, this is the show to get you going. We have to figure out what in the world that life has in store for us. I know for me personally, something that I'm doing right now is actually getting rid of a lot of things. And in the process of getting rid of a lot of things, I'm actually trying to clear up my headspace, trying to figure out what am I going to do myself, because the finances are here, but how do I navigate it now in 2025? Do I want to continue on the same things that I want to do from last year to this year? And actually, how am I going to strategize my finances for this coming year? Honestly, I don't even know. I'm planning on doing some in real life events. Would like to do something local at like a library, just to kind of have everybody come up, show out, and just either say hi or even just share your knowledge, because I want this to be something that everybody can either benefit from. But remember, my community isn't for everybody. I understand that. So if you can't make the one, you can't make it to all of them, it's okay. If you don't like the show, hey, there's so many more out there. I'm okay with it too, because this is heavily focused on those who are transitioning into the sandwich generation, or those who are already there and just kind of looking for resources. And I understand that some of you all have been following me for some time, been rocking with me. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you continue on to share this information. And one of the things is, though, even though you might not be in that sandwich generation right now, this is a way to actually prepare yourself. And I highly commend you all. So if you like what you see here, go ahead on and like and subscribe, share this out with your friends, and let's get this going. So if you can, go on and drop in the chat. I know some of you are watching on X, which is actually pretty cool that you can actually reply in the chat and I can actually see it this time, because I know in the past you couldn't. All right. I know this is a live show and it's recorded on January 23rd. So when I post this up on the live on my RSS feed, you all can get a copy of this. All right. So I was actually pulling up a couple things. I do want to start off, obviously, you know how I like to do. Start off with what's going on in the news. Matter of fact, before we even do that, gotta do my little intro here. Gotta get paid. All right. Let's see if this is the one. Let's go. You're listening to the About That Wallet podcast. We'll be right back after these messages. Little credit score dragging you down? Score Boost by Smart Credit helps you maximize your score by showing you exactly how much you need to pay off and by which date to gain the most points. Pay less and gain the most points the fastest. And you can start just for $1. Click the link in the bio. Save thousands. Don't wait.
Even the best and the brightest this world has to offer have coaches and mentors. Build strong money-making behaviors by applying financial concepts and strategies with Anthony Weaver on the About That Wallet Show. It's time to get off the bench and get in the game. Now, here's your host, Anthony Weaver.
I knew. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. So, before we get into it, I got to talk about what's hot on the press right now, because it's wallet news time. Let's get to it. All right, so let's see what Donald Trump has signed off today. Let's see what he got.
President's brief end of telework order. Federal News Network executive editor Jason Miller says there is some wiggle room.
Terminate remote work arrangements, return employees in person at the respective duty stations on a full-time basis, but it has an out. Agency heads shall make exemptions when they deem necessary.
As for the hiring freeze,
this will go on for about 90 days. There'll be a hiring freeze for 90 days. You'll have some of the folks from the Office of Management and Budget, Office of Personnel Management, and what now they're calling the administrator of the U.S. Doge Service, which is obviously a new organization that's not an agency. They will submit a plan to reduce the size of the federal workforce through what they call efficiency improvements and attrition.
For concerned federal employees, he suggests wait and see how your management acts.
Pay attention to see what your agency does for efficiency, right? This is not a new concept. Everyone's always been about efficiency. You've never had an administration say, hey, let's be inefficient.
Neil Augenstein, WTLP News.
I like when he says it, WTLP News. One of the things I do want to share with you all right quick is that also there's a new regulation that's going on. So for those of you who are looking to travel right now, I actually think this is pretty awesome. For those of you who are not familiar with the Real ID, if you haven't done so already, please do so now. So let's go and check it out, what they have to say.
Is coming that could bring big changes to an airport experience just for you. Starting May 7th, all domestic travelers in the U.S. must have a state-issued ID card or a driver's license that complies with a new standard known as Real ID. To find out what that actually means, let's go to Chris Van Cleve at Reagan National Airport. Chris, good morning. What's going on?
Well, good morning, Nate. It's going to be the must-have item for summer travel. Come May 7th, you're going to need what's called a Real ID, and you're going to look for this star in the corner of a driver's license. That indicates you've got it. If you don't, you need to get one. This has been a long time coming. Congress mandated this change 20 years ago in the wake of 9/11 to make driver's licenses more secure.
After years of delays, starting May 7th, if you want to get past the security checkpoint and onto a domestic flight, you will need an updated Real ID. It'll have a star like this in the corner. The TSA is urging people to get it now.
The closer you get to that deadline, the harder it's going to be to get your Real ID, either whether you want to get a passport or you want to get your license, because there'll be longer lines.
And that happened in 2020 before the deadline was postponed due to the pandemic. And still years later, many Americans are not ready. In 2023, DHS estimated Real ID compliance was growing by 0.5% a month, putting it at around 70% by the May deadline. In Iowa, that means about 2 in every 10 driver's license holders don't have the right ID, says the state DOT.
If you don't have that gold star, it means that you do not have a Real ID compliant credential, and you need to come in and do that.
Getting one means a trip to the DMV. Typically, you'll need a valid ID, passport or birth certificate, proof of your social security number and date of birth, plus 2 items proving state residency.
You'll also need a Real ID to get into federal buildings that require you to show identification. A passport or active duty military ID will work as well, Nate.
All right, Chris, we're going to call you during the commercial break because we're not sure if we actually have a Real ID.
I just got a new license in December. I want to run and look at my purse. Do I have it?
Yeah, so we'll talk to Chris during the commercial break to figure it all out.
20, 180. That's
all right. So for those of you who are just tuning in, please make sure that you do have a Real ID. Let me figure out what the heck is going on with my thing, because I'm not sure why my banner is showing the way it is. Very interesting. Okay. StreamYard is doing this thing, so I'm gonna just roll with it. One of the things that if you haven't done so already, go ahead on and start looking at your ID. If you have the star on it, make sure you do that. If you haven't, hey, make sure you go ahead on and get that done, because traveling is going to become something that you're going to need to take care of, and that is very important. So now we're going to just cut on it, slide on over. I'm going to take a small little 30-second break. so we can get right into it all. All right. So this is just a reminder. All right. So now that y'all realize that, yes, we are here every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please make sure if you ever want to throw in a commercial or anything like that, I am open. Please shoot me an email at info@aboutthatwallet, and we will get back to you so that you can have your segment on my live shows. All right. So what we're going to be talking about today is the top 8 things that I guess you could say all Sandwich Generation members actually go through. And I want you to start thinking about it right now. So, what are the things that you're dealing with as a member of the Sandwich Generation? And what I mean by that, the Sandwich Generation are people who are ages between 35 to about 55 who have kids, actually take care of their parents at the same time. Now, there are some called the club sandwich, whereas you have your kids, they're adult kids, and your adult kids have grandkids, and you still taking care of your parents. So that is something that you want to start thinking about. It's a lot of people in that sandwich. Then you have the open face sandwich, whereas you don't have kids, but you're a caretaker for your parents. And I want you to start thinking about that as well as we go through this. Hey, what's going on, Lisa? Thank you for coming through. Greatly appreciate it. All right. So, what we going to talk about? Number one. All right. So, number one, you got to start thinking about the financial pressure from all sides. As a sandwich generation, you got to feel like this. So, did you know that the sandwich generation is spending on average of $1,000 a month supporting aging parents and children? Are you financially leaking in silence? Like literally, it feels like your money is just going everywhere and you just have no clue. It's like you get money, you trying to grab onto it. It's almost like an illusion where you trying to grab for water, but the water keeps slipping out. You just don't know what to do. So the solution, I want you to start thinking about building out a zero-based budget using the 50-30-10-10 rule. You want to prioritize your needs, then split it to your wants, do your debt payments, and then your savings strategy. So for those of you who are familiar, so the 50% is obviously your priority needs, which is your housing, your water, your transportation, and your electricity. And also food is in there. Then you got your 30, which is kind of like your wants. You need to make sure you get all the things that you want, or you can also put that towards like your down payments as well. Now you got the 10%, 10%, 10%. Obviously, you got to pay yourself first. First and foremost, make sure you can try to get 10%. If you can't even get 10%, try 1%. Work your way up to that 10%. And then the other 10% is investments. And when it comes to investment, it means investing into your 401k with your work, or even in yourself. So it can actually add up to that as well. So you have to look at it both ways. Now, I want you to do is create like a 30-day financial map just to kind of track every dollar and highlight what you can cut immediately, just create. Let me say that again. You want to create a 30-day financial map to track every dollar and highlight what you can cut immediately so that you can create that breathing room, something that you can actually be able to look back on and see what in the world can I alleviate from my financial situation, from my breathing habits, so that I can actually continue on. Okay, so Lisa, you say doctor appointments, grocery shopping, and also laundry. That is something you need to start thinking about because some of these doctor's appointments be sneaking up on you, I'm sure. Like if you don't have your emergency fund set out, and a lot of the times when it comes to the emergency fund, you have to think about how is it impacting your emergencies, whether it's a doctor visit or if you have a flat tire. Like recently, I had a flat tire. Luckily, I was able to go to Costco to actually get it replugged in and everything like that. So I didn't have such of an emergency. The emergency was that I had to park the car, change the tire out, put everything back in the car, drive to Costco, have them plug it, fill up with air, and then put it back on the wheel. So luckily, I was able to get my tires from them to help alleviate some of that financial strain. So that's another strategy that you can do. Look at some of the perks that you get with either your credit cards or some of these memberships that you sign up for. So you want to look into what are those perks that you have. I know one of the guys when I was getting my tires plugged up, he was saying make sure you go to like Firestone. And because you go to Firestone, they actually do a wheel alignment. All you have to do is pay one time, and for the lifetime of that vehicle, you can keep going back for a wheel alignment. Now, if you look at brakes, I believe either AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, where you can actually go in and ask for forever brakes, which means that you buy one set of brakes for your vehicle, and every time you get those replaced, you just take them back to Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone. They will swap out those old brakes for new ones, and they'll give you your money that way. So you want you to start thinking about how you can actually utilize the different perks that you already have to help alleviate some of that financial strain that you have in the future. So it's a pay once, live forever type deal. And you're talking about, okay, Lisa says, I'm referring to transportation for mom getting to the appointments. I didn't even think about that one. So again, that is something that you have to think about as this person of the sandwich generation. You need to start thinking about how are you going to transport your aging parent throughout, the lifetime of their cycle. What are the programs that are local to your community that you can actually help provide them? So I also want to leave you with a data point here from AARP. They saying that 28% of family caregivers spend more than $10,000 annually on caregiving expenses. So I want you to start thinking about that. Do you have an extra $10,000 laying around just to take care of your elderly parent? Some of us don't have that. And you'll think about it like, hey, this is what I need. And by doing so, that moves us on to number 2, which is talking about your emotional burnout. But let me just run through all the things that we're going to be talking about today. So obviously, we talked about the financial pressure from all sides. We talked about the emotion. We're about to talk about the emotional burnout. Then we have the lack of retirement savings. You have overwhelmed by time management, difficulty saying no. Number 6, which is poor communication between generations. Number 7, we talk about those blind spots. Number 8, and finally number 8, which is guilt over self-care. Okay. So right now, for those of you who are joining, I just want to say welcome to the show as we start diving into this. So see what we got in here. What we got? Chats. Nobody saying anything. Okay. All right. So with the emotional burnout, this is something that you got to tell yourself. Here's the truth about caregiving. It costs you your mental health, and nobody's talking about it. It is costing you your mental health, and nobody is talking about it. You have to create a non-negotiable me time. It got to be weekly. You have to have like how your toddler or your child just need naps. Adults need downtime too. What are you doing for your downtime? Are you just turning off your phone, turning off everything, no music or anything like that? You just in your space, you got a sheet of paper, you just drawing, whatever it is, or you're coloring. What does your me time look like? Sometimes it could be window shopping at the local mall or something like that. For me, I can go bowling for hours on end and just sit there because I believe they still got the Fridays all night bowl for like $20 or $30. And you just go bowling forever. That is something that I wouldn't mind doing. And I can do that all day. But for free, because we're talking about this money leaving us, what are you doing to actually start thinking about how can you take a moment to breathe, to really find your me time? So if you don't know how to do that, let's start by doing 30 minutes a day just to disconnect. You can use some mindfulness apps, or even take a walk to recharge, get some fresh air, get out of the space that's causing you to feel closed in and not yourself. So, keep that in mind. The National Alliance for Caregiving found that 36% of caregivers report high emotional stress, which is linked to higher rates of depression. So, listening to this podcast could be a way to kind of take a break from your day to day, but also this can actually provide you a resource so that you can have a moment to yourself to realize, like, hey, I have what it takes. I just need to take a break from all of this. Just give me 30 minutes to myself. Like, if you come home and the first thing people say, like, hey, how you doing, what you doing, like, got the kids at your ankles or in your thighs right now hugging you, glad to be home. Or if you have a significant other, just saying, like, hey, how was your day, how was the drive home, what did you guys do? Like, everybody's asking you stuff and you just want to get in, take your bags off, just drop work off of you. This is where that moment you have to say, I need 30 minutes. Just give me 30 minutes and I'll give you all the attention you need. Some people might just need an hour. Me personally, I need about 45 minutes. I'll meet you in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like 45 minutes. Which now brings up to, we're going to talk about these lack of retirement savings, okay? These lack of retirement savings is something that you have to think about, because when we have that rule, that 50-30-10-10 rule, remember that one of those 10% is investing in you, investing in your retirement. Are you sacrificing your future to save everyone else's day? Or are you sacrificing your future for yourself? Only 12% of caregivers have long-term financial plans, according to the Northwestern Mutual Survey. 12%. That means that there is 88% of caregivers do not have long-term financial plans. And if you're part of that 88%, this is for you, okay? I want you to begin with 1% more. Just start putting in 1% more into your retirement savings plan. Remember, compounding is one of the seventh wonders of the world, and one of the things that you can take advantage of. Now, Lisa, who's on here, Lisa J Stocks, we talked about the compounding, compound interest, and everything like that. Pick an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund, or even a low cost mutual fund, and looking at the expense ratios to make sure that it's under 1%. If you can get it even lower than 0.0%, go for it. Because right now you want to make sure that your money is working for you, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Your money is lonely. It needs to make some friends. And a way to do that is by investing in yourself. Now, what you can do is open up a separate retirement account or boost contributions to an existing one. In that case, it helps out with you automating some of your savings and review contributions annually. So the reason why you can review them annually, because it actually impacts your taxes when you go to take them out. So it can fall into a different bucket or a different category, which is considered capital gains taxes, instead of it looking like your basic income taxes as a consumer. or as a W-2 worker, because then you're actually taxed at a higher rate. So these are things that you want to be mindful of. Now, keep in mind, I am not a tax professional. This is for educational purposes only. And I just want to make sure that you have the best insight as much as possible. I do plan on bringing back Angelina just to kind of talk about some taxes for the 2025 year. I just got to catch her while all this fun stuff is going on. So type in tax if this is something that you would really like to learn more about. And I will make sure that we put in those questions that you have about taxes for when Angelina comes on. All right. Now, we want to start sliding into number four. Number four. We want to talk about overwhelmed by time management. Now, study shows that people waste about 2.5 hours daily on non-essential tasks. Can you believe that? Like 2.5 hours. I can tell you I can easily spend about 2 hours on Instagram. So I guess I fall in that bucket. Where do you spend most of your time at? I want you to think about that. What do you spend most of your time on that is causing you to not focus on yourself? What is it that's out there? Because you ever feel like that 24 hours isn't enough? It's time to adopt the toddler mentality and master your calendar. And what I mean by that toddler mentality is that you have to go at it ferociously. Nobody is more tenacious, more determined than a child that is hungry, or a child that wants something because they want their little toy and you're not giving it to them because they're going to be all over you trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Okay. Now, when it comes to your finances, the reason why this is important is because you need to know what the heck you want and you have to go after it. If retirement early is something that you dying to have and you're really wanting to go after, then let's make it happen. Do it that way. All right. So, Lisa, we got you in for taxes. Okay. Please make a short out of my, yours, money is lonely. What? Lisa, you might have to restate that. Cause I, make it a little cohesive. I think you're saying, okay, fire. I appreciate it. Yes. So being overwhelmed with time management, these are the things that you need to start thinking about. So the way how we're going to go through this is that you need to identify one low priority task to eliminate each week. Replace it with a self-care or financial strategizing. Now, what I mean by that is saying that I spend easily 2 hours on Instagram, right? Since that is a low priority tasker of me just kind of scrolling through, looking brain rot through all the information, what I could do is cut that in half to like maybe 30 minutes of time scrolling. Make sure it's purposeful scrolling, meaning that I'm only looking at other financial content creators, or I'm reaching out or responding to comments inside, based on images that I've seen or videos that I've posted, just to make sure that, we constantly getting our data points out there of, hey, I'm alive still. It's just that I haven't posted in a while because I'm in between episodes. And the reason why I want to replace it with something that's more meaningful, like financial strategizing. And financial strategizing for me is figuring out, okay, it's more like a financial audit for me. Do I still need this particular subscription? Is there a way, if I need this subscription, do I need to pay this much? How can I pay less? Now, for some of you who are homeowners that are listening to this, I want you to think about what are the ways that you can actually lower your mortgage payments. Now, some of you be like, how you lower your mortgage payments? How can you do that? Couple ways. I'm gonna give you two. There are multiple ways, but I'm gonna give you two. One way is to actually fill out your assessment value for your property. Depending on your state, depending on your locale, I know in DC they give you 2 times out the year. You can actually put in an assessment value form. You have to fill it out yourself. You can do this all for free. And all you do is just look at the comps or comparable properties in your area, see what they were sold, write that down, take screenshots if you need to, mail it to your local jurisdiction, and they will process it and get back to you with a rebuttal or an appeal. If not, you can appeal their appeal, which is pretty cool. To kind of say, like, hey, your ranges are too broad. You need to bring that down. Because if you don't say anything, they're going to constantly going up on your assessed value, which means, like, say, I think over the past couple years, they were talking about some of the assessed values were going up even more than 20, 30, 40%. And you're like, my property isn't even worth that much. How are y'all bringing up these different assessment values? So spending your time management on that. Another thing that you can actually look into, the other way to lower it, is to actually put more towards the principal. Even if it's just $5, $10, or something like that, it works. Regardless of how minimal it seems, putting money towards your principal for your mortgage can actually help you out in the long run. Okay, so Lisa, you asked me once, what is my dream job? And I said retired. Yes. Yes. I love that. That is actually a good dream job to have. I would love to be retired myself. So you can also use this block of time just on a just to wrap up this time management piece. I want you to start thinking about using that block scheduled time and dedicate it to caregiving, work, or even personal life, and treat your calendar like a toddler's routine, predictable and purposeful. Because with a toddler, you know they love their routines. They love when you come in, you say hi, you greet them some form of way, whether it's a rub on the head, pick them up, kiss them, hug them, like whatever your routine is for the day, do that. I want you to do that for that block of time that you have for yourself, and make sure that that time management does not get faltered with. All right. So, number 5. Oh man, I'm actually rolling through these. All right. If you're having difficulty to saying no, this segment right here is going to be for you. So, the difficulty saying no. Research by Harvard Business Review shows that learning to say no can increase productivity by 31%. Okay? Saying no can increase productivity by 31%. That means when you're at work and you just saying, you know what? Nah, boss, I ain't got it. Can't do it today. I got to focus on these things. That means that you're giving 31% productivity into that particular course. But when it comes to your family, how does that transition? And now this is something I want you to think about, because we contain multitudes. We contain different, ways of seeing things, because just because you said no to me, are you going to say no every time, or are you saying no to that particular situation? So you need to actually communicate that a little bit better when you're talking to family. So every time you say yes to someone else, you're also saying no to yourself. Now, who's taking care of you? Because if you're not taking care of you, you're doing everybody else's stuff. When are you taking time out for you? This is going back to time management. You need to start saying no to take care of yourself. So I want you to draft a short script to respectfully decline requests that don't align with your priorities. Now, if you don't know what your priorities are, I need you to write down what your priorities are going forward before you start saying no to a lot of things. So, for example, my priority is to pretty much stay home and relax and make sure I'm providing the best value to somebody else. In order for me to do that, I need to research, which means what I mean by that is by watching other YouTubers, watching other financial people. That gives me joy. Reading books on finances. So when it comes to my priority is my education and actually leveraging that education so that I can start making uh, the best money moves for my situation. And if somebody is saying like, "Hey, let's go to this party," I can say, "Well, no, not right now or not this time because I am reading a book that I want to finish." Or B, I could say like, "Hey, um, I'm in the middle of writing out my notes to plan out the rest of my life. I need this moment to my time. Maybe next time." Now, there's also an option C, which means that hey, somebody's out of town, you haven't seen them in a long time, you want to go hang out with them, cool. But then you got to set up that block of time because you're taking time out of your day to spend time with them because they took time out of their day to come to wherever location you're at. You got to then figure out how you're going to find time for yourself again. There is no making up time because time has already passed. When are you going to set time up again so that you can focus on yourself, focus on where you want to be? And that's where I kind of put my delineage of figuring out my priorities before I even consider someone else's. Now, it sounds selfish. I need to be selfish. As this is me because they not paying my bills. I got to pay my bills. And so setting those boundaries with family members, you got to be clear in your communication and setting your limits. Practice saying, "I'll need to think about that before committing." So if you say to somebody like, "Hey, I want to go ahead on and hang out. I want to do this," just say like, let me think about this for a moment. And try not to take all day. And sometimes you don't even need to think about it. Does it align with yourself? Keep it black and white. Does it align with where you want to go? Say yes. If it doesn't, say no. Now, if you're going to hang out with a friend or a buddy or something like that, you can say like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with you, but I need to start focusing on money. So we're going to be talking about some money today." Okay. These are the things I want you to start thinking about. All right. Before we move to the number 6, I want to take a small break to kind of say, I just want to say thank you all for coming through. One of the things that I am working on is a what you call it. I am doing a session. So it's one of the things that I am working on is how to provide a. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. One of the things I am focusing on is providing one-on-one services that you can easily sign up for. You can go to aboutthatwallet.com and you can sign up for my services there. And what we do is take a one-on-one session with you for 2 hours. We go over your budgeting, we set up your different accounts, and actually figure out how we can automate a lot of the things that's in there and actually help find you money that's already there so that you can actually reach the financial goals that you need to. Now, keep in mind, we'll be reaching out to different resources, and also you'll have access to some of my connections so that we can start getting your wills together, getting your trust together. If you plan on going through bankruptcies, getting that taken care of, and actually I'll be working with you to help clean up some of your credit so that you can actually be successful in getting the house that you want or getting a car or helping out with your children to build their credit from an early age. So I just want to share that with you all. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share the show. It really means a lot to me so I can continue on to push out as much content as I can and make sure it's quality. So within the next 9 months, I do plan on going over some of the analytics, some of the things that you guys liked, and try to revamp some of that stuff so that we can give it to you in fresh eyes. And I have amazing guests that are coming through within the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned, stay locked in, and let's get going. All right. So let's see. Take a little music break. This one doesn't have anything. It's just a quick tip. I totally forgot I had that thing. So let's see. We're going to start talking about this poor communication between generations. Now, we all know that our mom and dads don't listen to what we have to say the way how we want to say it. Well, I don't have any children, but if I had children, it'll be a different dynamic of how I'm saying what I need to say in the right way, so I can say it to the person I need to say, if that makes sense. Because like your parents be like, yeah, I know you ain't talking to me, because I'd put you back where well, I ain't gonna put you back, but you know what I'm saying, better respect who you talk to. This was gonna happen. And you know, it is what it is. All right, so poor communication skills. This is something that we all have to think about. So the Family Caregiver Alliance reports, man, the Family Caregiver Alliance has a lot of research here. So they also report that miscommunication leads to 62% of caregivers burnout cases. And we talked about burnout earlier. So, you know, just trying to communicate to them because you love them, you're really trying to do your best between them all. But it's just like you're spending a lot of time going back and forth trying to communicate the best way. And because it's miscommunicated or is taken in a different context, how can you actually create a way that would actually help communicate exactly what you mean, exactly what you want, all at the same time? So, a way you can do that is to create a shared family document to track caregiving tasks and responsibilities. So, I just say, like, one of my clients that I talked to when they were actually dealing with their parents, their husband, and also their kids, they actually created a Google Drive, and they had in there like an Excel spreadsheet, or they call them Google Sheets. And what they did was, I'm not even sure why I wear these headphones. And what they did was provide the taskers that each person needs to do, along with each activity. So they actually color code it when they're done. And then with the husband, he will say, like, hey, we got a trip coming up. Can we go on and have like a savings planner for this? So the husband will fill in every time they put money towards their bank account. They will start tracking that all as a family shared drive. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And I want to share that with you all as something that you can actually utilize as well in your family. But also, this will help out with money in, money out, as well as the chores inside the house. Like, hey, did you feed grandma and granddad their pills for the 12 o'clock hour, the 1 o'clock hour, and the 4 p.m. hour, or however many times they got to take their medication? Did they track how much water they drank? How much food did they eat? Who's making dinner? What's for dinner? Like, you can track all of these things in one loving location, long as everybody is available to see it. Another way that you can also do this is by providing a like a little checklist or a whiteboard or something like that that's in the house that kind of say, like, hey, these are the daily chores that we need to make sure we do to maintain the house while I'm out. And this could actually help out to run a smooth, tight ship or a smoother house. So you remember, you're the bridge between generations, but is anyone actually listening to you? You know, you need to think about that. Are people really listening to you? So this is where you might have to have that family meeting and sit down and be like, hey, why aren't y'all listening to me? How can we go forward in the way that we're going now? Are we achieving the best we can as a family unit? And if not, what can we do about it? How can I better communicate that I need this from you? How can I better show, like, hey, the trash goes out every day on Tuesday. Why isn't the trash going out? It's been several days. Who's cutting the grass? Whose turn is it this time? Like, this stuff can be delegated and transformed in the family. So I want you to schedule monthly family meetings to discuss your finances, your caregiving needs, and even emotional concerns. Just make sure that they're very structured and supportive, so everybody can actually get put in there. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Yeah, because everybody needs it. And mom, you said very good idea. Yeah, it's a very great idea because not everybody is you. At the end of the day, you're listening to it, but you're also not giving it what it needs, the attention that it needs. And by really showing up and telling people like, hey, these are the things that I need from you, and they can tell you vice versa. These are the things that they need. So creating that psychological safe space is such a beautiful thing for the family and everybody else. Which brings us to these legal blind spots. Number 7, these legal blind spots. Okay. So what happens if your parents can't make decisions for themselves? Are you prepared for the legal fallout? Over 60% of Americans lack a will or even an estate plan, leaving loved ones to navigate legal chaos. I'm not sure how many funerals you've been to, uh, or if somebody that's close to you have passed away, and you have to now figure out what the heck is going on next with their assets. Who has all their passwords? Who has the physical keys to their lock boxes, to their garage, to their PO boxes, to their houses, multiple houses if they have them in the estate? Who has all the access codes for any of the storage containers that they might have out there? Where is everything? If you don't know these answers and your name is on a will, this is where it's a good time to have those tough conversations with with the person that's going to put you in their will. What is going on? So this goes back to, you got to schedule that family meeting. If you have a family attorney, set up a schedule where you can meet with the family attorney to kind of get some advice or some suggestions to talk about, advanced healthcare directives, or even building out this living will. Is this a revocable will, or is this an irrevocable will? Now, if it's an irrevocable will, now you got to create a whole new will that would actually help, I guess you could say, go side by side with the irrevocable will, so that you can actually still do what you need to do so that the family can move forward as a unit. Because there could be, with an irrevocable trust. So irrevocable trust, or if they got a will, you need to make sure that they're talking hand in hand, and how the monies are being funneled through the hands of the lawyer, through the trust, and also through the siblings, if there are any, through the children, or even living spouses. How is that all being taken care of, and how is that all being handled? So you need to make sure that you have secure essential documents, such as who is the power of attorney. You need to figure out who are the financial person that's going to be taking care of all the finances. Who is what they call them, the health beneficiary? What do we call them? People that speak on behalf when you can't speak, or you're impaired or something like that. You're in the hospital. I forgot their name. their particular title. But these are the things you need to think about. So with that, I actually do have a little "Am I the a-hole" moment. I'm gonna see if I can share this right quick. Share screen. Because I thought this was actually pretty entertaining. This is "Am I the a-hole for not paying my fiance's mom's funeral?" Okay. Let's see. They say here I'm new to Reddit, so forgive me for formatting issues. Okay. To make the long story short, let's see if I can zoom in further. To make a long story short, my fiance's, she's 31, mother, look, my long story, fiance's mother, I'm gonna just go with that, recently passed. She has never really in her life abandoned him at birth. Oh, so this is the lady. Okay. So it's from the lady side. Okay. She has never really in his life abandoned him at birth. And I've only met her one time in the 8 years we've been together. Recently, she had come back into his life and they were on civil terms. We got news from the hospital that she had died, and they immediately wanted to know what funeral home we wanted to send. We wanted to send her to, and of course, my fiance's decisions. He's obligated to figure out all of this out since his other siblings are MIA or missing in action or incarcerated. I recommended to him we just do something simple and keep it on a cheaper side since no one else will be helping financially. And he doesn't have any savings either. She also didn't have any kind of life/burial insurance. So, well, today he surprises me after work with a $10K bill that he expects me to pay the majority out of my savings because he can't afford it. I will admit I did help pay for his dad's cremation multiple years ago, but it wasn't near the cost of what he's wanting to do now. We just recently moved into a more expensive apartment, and at this point, a $10,000 funeral is just not on the table. But he won't budge. Now, with that, I'm like, Thank you, medical proxy. Thank you for that, Lisa. So now, are they the a-hole? I don't know. Really don't know. Because this one, it seems to me like they only fiance together, which means that they are not legally obligated to do anything. She can either say like, "Hey, I only got $2,000. That's it." Even though he might see that she has more, but again, you got to be on the same page financially because depending on her profession, she might not be able to get another job anytime soon. It all depends on how they're going to be doing this. These are things that you need to have a discussion with because his mom didn't have a will. She didn't have life insurance. She didn't have burial insurance. So what are they leaving? So Randy says it's his mom, so that's on him. She wouldn't be in the wrong to give him some, but not at all. You're right. What do you do? She might not be wrong on paper, but she might feel that guilt inside. And also, would he resent her for not giving up money for helping out? they supposedly in love. They want to get married, but is this something that she's willing to do? She's not obligated to. So, I mean, if I was in her shoes, I'd be like, no, son, like this is for 10 G's. And you're not married. Can't see it. I don't know. That's just me. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Okay, so while y'all putting in your thoughts, I'm gonna keep moving on with this right here with this guilt over self-care, which is the last segment that we talked about far as the 8 things. So let me do a quick run through for those of you who are just joining. So these are the 8 issues that the sandwich generation faces for 2024. I mean 2025. I'm sorry, it's like the years are going by. So number 1, which is financial pressure from all sides. Number 2 is emotional burnout. Number 3 is the lack of retirement savings. Number 4 is overwhelmed by time management. Number 5 is difficulty of saying no. Number 6, which is poor communication between generations. Number 7, legal blind spots. And now we down to number 8. Man, all right. I kind of wish I had some water to drink. I didn't bring any. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's knock this out, you guys. We almost done. All right. Number 8 is guilt over self-care. So, why does taking care of yourself feel like a crime? It's time to break the guilt cycle. You need to get rid of the guiltiness of being careful for yourself, meaning that you're self-caring of your well-being. These are things that you care about, which is your wealth, your health, and your religion, your friendships. You have all these different things that you're caring for. But how are you actually giving them your all, or you're giving them some time? Remember, if you're saying yes to them, you're saying no to you. So the Mayo Clinic have found that caregivers who prioritize self-care reduce stress by 40% and improve caregiving outcomes. So what does that mean is taking time out to really focus on you and not feeling guilty about it is so important. Because when you start, before you even bring in your parents into your household because you're caring for them, or you have to put them in a family home, or you got to figure out their health needs, which means that you got to take them back and forth to the hospital or back and forth to their local doctor. Yes, you can use Uber, Lyft, or any type of ride sharing apps that are out there to kind of help offset you specifically doing it. I mean, they can send themselves over there to do it, but sometimes you need that person to sit by them and walk them through it. And usually the people that are there or helping out with the caregiving side of the house as a family member is either somebody who understands how the billing codes work, or understand how the healthcare insurances are set up, or what to say and what not to say to a doctor when you're about to do your prescription, saying like, hey, I don't have insurance, so they can give you the at cost price. Because if you do say you have insurance, then they got to jack the price up. So it depends on what's going on, that you might have to find a way to take care of that person. But then you don't want to lose yourself in caring for that person, a loved one, not just any person, but taking care of a loved one. How do you set that up? Now, one of the things that you can do is I want you to reframe self-care as a responsibility, not a luxury. I'll repeat that again. Refrain from saying self-care is not refrain. Refrain from saying self-care is a luxury. It is a responsibility. And what I mean by that, you have to start thinking about, you got to gas yourself up before you start helping out others. Put your mask on first before you start helping out others. This is very important and much needed, because this has got to be a lot. So, Lisa, you said she's probably worried about jeopardizing the wedding and moving forward. Yeah, because they just bought the new expensive apartment, which means that in order for them to break that lease, if they're not going to fully go through with the marriage, they more than likely going to have to pay twice as much, because sometimes they say like you got to pay 2 months rent when you want to cancel, or some of them say like 3 months rent, depending on how it's set up. And then you got to move everything out, or whatever. Or if he doesn't have any money or any savings, so how is he able to take care of his living situation? Because now he had to come with this $10K bill to bury his mom. Does she need a fancy casket? And I'm not sure if you all realize this, but majority of funerals, average cost is about $10K. So if you have $10,000 and you pass away, now remember, I'm gonna let you guys know this. You can set this up right now, but this is since you lasted this long, I'm gonna give you a cool tip. If you go to your bank account, just you can even call them up. I usually call them up, or you can go in person. Majority of the time you have to do this in person. Tell them you want to set up a POD or a TOD. A POD, which is mean paid on death, which means that they will actually close out your account and pay it towards whoever you said, to send it off to. TOD stands for transfer on death, which means, so say if you and your parents and your children all in that same bank account, or all banked together, you can actually set up a TOD, which means that since it's already in the same bank, they'll just slide that money over to your account and close out the other account. So that is something that you can think about. Hey, what's going on, Miles? How you doing, sir? Good to see you up here on the live. Good, sir. Thank you for coming through. So you want to make sure with that TOD, you can transfer on death, close out the account, POD, pay on death, and do that over. All you need is just their social security and I believe their name and also address. Each bank is a little different. I know when I set mine up, I would say at least 7 or 8 years ago, it was really easy. I just go in, fill out the paperwork, and they'd take care of it. It was like, sure, we don't have no problem. We'll just close it out, send it over. It's nice and easy. I'll say highly recommend it. If your parents haven't done it yet, because you're caregiving for them, have them set that up. You can even have them set it up now. Like it really doesn't cost anything. It doesn't hit any credit reports or anything like that. There's no reporting or anything like that. It just go ahead on and set it up today. Knock it out. It's real easy to do. So let's say, hope to see you at podcast. Man, I didn't go to I'm not going to go to Evolutions this year, Miles. I'm going to Podcast Movement in Texas later this year, and I'm doing FinCon. I was in so many conferences last year that I'm cutting back. I'm only doing 2. Got to protect my safe space. Podcasting is a lot, but I do want to make sure that I'm providing the most impact going forward. And so Evolutions was great. I spoke at Evolutions last year. I just couldn't find it in my budget this time around, so couldn't do that one. No, I didn't do I'm not going to do Podcast Summit at ATL either. Again, it was one of those things that like I was going to pick one podcast event and then I was going to do one financial event for 2025. And so I chose Podcast Movement in Texas and then I chose FinCon for I think that's in Portland, Oregon. So those are the only two that I'm doing. But by all means, I mean, I'm sure you're going to be taking it off really well because those are some really great conferences. I've been to Podcast Summit when it first came out. I haven't been back since, and then I haven't been to. As I'll probably go to Evolutions maybe every other year. So that might be my thing. I might do some of these. I might have to alternate some of these conferences because these conferences cost. For those of you who don't know, when it comes to the self-care thing, because ultimately I do want to become a better crafter. I want to do better with my podcast. I want to do better with my finances. These conferences cost money. Now, it's not that the conference themselves costs money because usually they're around like $200 some dollars for like a week-long conference. But the matter of the fact is that it takes about $2,000. I'm saying is like from handling the flight and then also the stay at the hotel. And that's usually, and then you know you want to eat, so eating as well. So you got to think about all the different things that you're going to be doing while you're at these conferences. So they cost some money. Now, with that being said, when I am going to these conferences, I do usually apply to speak. So if you ever want to help sponsor any of my talks, this will help offset the cost for the hotel stay and also the travel. That usually your name will be at the very bottom, like at the bottom of the slide deck. So you'll get a shout out, and or I'll just make a whole slide dedicated to everybody who sponsored the event, just to say thank you. And for those of you who saw me speak, I usually have several people who enjoy those talks and really enjoy what we do out there. So, boss, hey, what's going on, boss? Thanks for coming through. Bass, I keep trying to say boss. So Bass and I, from the Social Work Rants podcast, he's definitely check out his show if you haven't already. And if you guys are new to Miles Youngblood, go down to check out his podcast as well. He's been doing some great things over there. I want to do a shout out to Bass because him and we actually did a talk in ATL just last year, and we were on a panel just to kind of help local people help out with their finances. And we had a great group discussion about caregiving. We talked about financial burnout. We talked about life insurance. We talked about being a caregiver for your elderly parents and your children and being there for everybody. So, this community is small. We're everywhere. But I just want to make sure that to continue to add this impact, you have to continue on to bring in finances. I mean, granted, we do a lot of this stuff for free because we care, but a lot of the stuff still costs money. So when you hear me talk about, hey, sign up for my newsletter, I want to give you as much as I can to kind of be part of that process. I do have a Patreon account where if you just want to subscribe to the show, because I'm not monetized on YouTube, but you can actually support me on Patreon. And because your name will be there, I would love to also put you onto my I'm gonna get the link right quick so that you can have it. Because the reason why I want to make sure that you all have it is because in case you do want to support, and that's the way how we're gonna do it. I wonder where my Patreon account is at. Okay, I gotta find it. When I find it, I'll put it up on the thing. But anyway, but with Patreon, it really is meant. There we go. I found it. So that's the link to my Patreon, and I'm also put it up on the banner here so that you all can see. The reason why I do the Patreon is because one, it's small, fee to get started. It helps out with the hosting platform, all my travel stuff, and I'll make sure that your name get posted up on any of the talks that I do. And I want to make sure that I want to showcase you all for your support and make sure that, you know, I greatly appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So because of finances and I'm coming out of pocket with a lot of these conferences, it's going to take some time. I'm only doing 2 that I can kindly fund out of myself. And any support or anything like that will help out for future ones so that I can go to more of them. Miles. So long story short, yes, Miles, I would love to go to those. It's just financially, I just don't have it. And it's called about boundaries, making sure I got enough for it. All right. So we're gonna go down to number 8, which is the last one of this thing, okay? Which is guilt and self-care. We talked about, making sure that self-care is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to do when it comes to self-care is write down one thing you've done for yourself this week. Now commit to repeating it next week without guilt. I'm gonna repeat myself so y'all guys get this. I want you to write down what you've done for yourself this week, which means, did you say like, hey, I'm not going to eat this yogurt today because I'm worried about my health. I am going to have a smoothie and really take 20 or 30 minutes to look into my finances. Just to look at it. You ain't got to do anything with it. Just look at it. And just because you took time to look at it, that's something for yourself. That's your future. This is your money. You're taking the time to make the money, but you don't care where it goes. Like, make that make sense. You go to work, you complain about work, you complain about your coworkers, you complain about management, and then you come home, go to sleep, and then grovel because you got to get back up in the morning to do it all over again. But you won't take time to figure out where the heck your money's going. So as a self-care thing, it's okay to look at your credit card statements and just beat yourself up. It's okay because you deserve it. Beat yourself up over that. You need to take time out to realize like, hey, I put in the work. I need to start thinking about it. These are things that I need to do to get over the hump. Get rid of the fear of your finances. Focus on your self-care. It's okay. Don't feel guilty for looking at your own finances. You made the money. So it's just like, look at it. Like, just look at it. All right. So Bass, you said, I made a post on LinkedIn regarding self-care while caregiving. Yes. It's very important to have that moment to yourself. Like, yeah, they over in the next room, they quiet, they sleeping, or if you're caregiving and your parent is sleeping, or whichever parent is sleeping out there, just take a moment to look at your finances. You can do this all on your phone. Take 20, 30 minutes. This is self-care, to know where your money is at. And even if it's self-care to spend the money, okay, well, you booked yourself to get a haircut. Obviously, I haven't done much self-care on that aspect because I do need a haircut. But I'm okay with it. It's cold outside. When it stopped being cold outside, I get a haircut. So then I can feel all the wind beneath my wings. Oh, man. Let's say, hey, nerdy film girl. Hey, I remember you. How you doing? Thank you for coming through. I greatly appreciate you dropping by. Make sure you go ahead on and like and subscribe, share. So, mall therapy. If that's what it takes, now there's a difference between having mall therapy and spending therapy. Like, you can go in the mall, peruse around, and make sure that either just like maybe get a snack here and there, a healthy snack, but you're not overspending. You're keeping yourself on a budget. Shucks, self-care could even be, hey, I wrote a grocery list, and I stuck to that list. So by sticking to a list that you created, that means that you actually care about what's going on. You care about yourself. You care about your spending. You care about your finances. This is a self-care thing. It's okay. But because you took time out to stick to what you know, stick to your plan, this is very important. So, by all means, make sure you do that and enjoy your finances. Enjoy what you love doing. So, remember, you're not just part of the sandwich generation. You're the glue that holds it all together. So, by embracing the focused determination of the toddler energy, you can also set boundaries, prioritize yourself, and take actionable steps to create a future that you're proud of. So, remember the first step. Do you remember that first step? Which is to commit to one of these solutions today and change your trajectory. So I want you to leave with that, okay? And so let's make sure that we continue on to provide our self-care, provide everything that we need. And I wish you all a blessed one and a good night. All right, everybody. Thank you all. Again, let me see, scroll through and say hi to everybody. Thank you all for coming through. Let's see. Mom was in. Lisa, thank you for stopping by. Let's see. Randy, thank you for stopping by. Miles, what's going on? Thank you. And Bass, thank you for coming through. And everybody, y'all be safe. Make sure y'all subscribe. If you haven't already signed up for the Patreon, please do. I greatly appreciate it. It's not a must, but I'm just saying, if you guys want me out there and y'all want to see me in these different conferences and help me on my journey, I greatly appreciate it. If anything else, thank you so much. Y'all be safe. I'm out. Peace.